United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for being here tonight. There's a few extra items on the mayor's remarks section, which I'll go through now. I counted 7 things to cover, so basically 4 things to add. I'll be quick on some of it, but I just want to touch on a few things. First off, if many of you saw, and we've gone over this a few times, but over the weekend, if you saw the 250 edition of the Daily Star, I just want to give a special thanks to Mark Simonson and the continued work he does as a historian and the articles that he's contributed not only to the Daily Star on a routine basis, but they were on display. I think it was, in fairness to the other writers for the Daily Star, that was the Mark Simonson edition, and it was great. So I really appreciate Mark Simonson's work, always highlighting the history, the rich history of Oneonta and the things that have happened throughout many generations here. So it was really nice to see the extra time and dedication in the paper over the weekend. Also over the weekend, I know there's probably some mixed accounts, but I think overall, generally, the Blendorama tournament went over very well with a record number of teams. I spent some time there watching the games played, and it looks like everyone was having fun, right?
Yeah.
I was having fun.
Yeah. My 7-year-old played basketball for the first time, like the week of that tournament, and then participated in the tournament. He had a blast. So.
Yeah. I watched one of the championship games, and it was intense. Lots of fun, and record number of teams, and Cam Hayes leading that effort. Really appreciate him bringing a positive spotlight on Oneonta and the quality of life here. And it's also nice to hear that he says, okay, we've done well this year. There's some things we can do better next year to make some corrections, and we can also do better by making it bigger and a better experience for everyone involved. So that kind of mindset of saying we're successful, we can still do better, I think is what, again, makes Oneonta a special place, and a place that can always do a little bit better, and it looks to do that. Third item is, it was announced, I was hoping to make the announcement, but it got out. We have a mural awardee for Market Street, you might have seen it, and I think it's coming up on the screens. I went a little bit too fast.
You might as well.
It's coming.
Yeah.
I'll defer it. So, Councilmember McKee, would you like to take it from here?
No,
No, you do this part, then I'll do the rest.
No, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you.
Somebody's got to do it.
No, the Public Arts Commission selected somebody, we went through the process and finally picked someone to do murals. They're going to do the whole length of the wall, so that's wonderful because we were thinking they were only going to be able to budget like part of the wall, but they're doing the whole thing. And hopefully we can get it. It's not going to be exactly this, but this is like, she's going to get us some more definite.
There is no signal, so.
Okay. It's just in your imagination.
Close your eyes.
It's in, I'll just mention,
Yep.
it's in, for those that maybe weren't at the finance meeting, it's in the finance and HR committee
Yeah.
meeting report, all the details that are really actually excellent.
I think it's beautiful.
Well,
I'm happy to see it. It looks very beautiful. It's a long process. I think we started in April, many submissions. Really appreciate the Public Arts Commission taking on that project, and it's going to add another element of beautification downtown. So really excited to see the next step, and I hope we should be here soon to get working on it. Other areas of beautification in Oneonta, I attended the Future of Oneonta Foundation Annual Awards Thursday night at SUNY, and it's a fun event if you've been to it in the past. They recognize the properties of merit is one sort of key thing to do, where there's good landscaping or good rehabilitation of properties, not just in the city, but around the community generally. So it's really nice to see residents fixing up their homes or businesses fixing up their places of business. It really showcases the care that people have for the properties around Oneonta, and ensuring that they look good and they're always in good condition, and that they're attractive to the people that would visit us and do business in the city. They also recognize the First United Methodist Church on Chestnut Street for the good work that they did throughout the winter time for sheltering people that were in need during the cold winter months. And that was a very well-deserved recognition, and it was nice to see that First United Methodist Church is a very active church in our community, and the number of members of that church that were at that reception to celebrate it and appreciate it. And it was really nice to see them. They were surprised to get that award, but it's nice to see them being happy to receive it. And Dr. Benjamin Friedel, who is retiring after, I think, 35 years of service to the Oneonta community. It's a retirement that means he's still going to be around, but he's going to be retiring from Bassett and taking on other things. And he was one of the founding members, or the driving force behind the Oneonta Community Health Center, which is a free clinic providing services for people that may not have means to pay for it, and they serve over 200 patients annually. And that's been in place for about 20 years, and he's been one of the driving forces for that. So he's definitely left a legacy of good and good care for our community, so it was nice to see that they were all recognized on Thursday night. Going to more recognitions, like the first 5 here are all about the people doing great things in Oneonta. And the Oneonta Veteran of the Month from the Oneonta Veterans Outreach Center. Today was the first Tuesday of the month, so it was the monthly luncheon, and today's honoree was Dr. Roy Bartu. Maybe some of you know him. He's, I didn't not know this until today, but his daughter is Leslie Ann Parmenter, who was on the radio for many years, and so she was there to celebrate her dad. It was really nice. He was in the U.S. Army from 1955 to 1957. He was very happy to say that on Sunday he turns 90, so there was a bit of a rendition of happy birthday for him. He was in the Army Reserves. He received the Good Conduct Medal. He went to the University of Buffalo from 1970 to 1975, and the State University of Oneonta from 1975 to 1995. His volunteer list goes on beyond this page, so I'll mention a few things. Literacy Volunteers of America, which is for 50 years working with them. Member of the Dave Brandt branch of the Trouts Unlimited from 1975 to 2026, and he does fly fishing tutorials at the Armory, so if you're interested in learning how to fly fish, he might be able to help you out. He's still doing that. And he has worked for libraries, worked for education. It's quite remarkable. I think the theme, as I've been making these highlighted moments at the beginning of our meeting since January, is that the service members that are recognized have a few years of their military service and then many, many more years of service to their community. Most of it is here in Oneonta. And Dr. Bartu is certainly no exception. And he made a point today when he was receiving his recognition that his first time he was asked to help somebody, he was 10 years old, and he was asked to help someone work on their math assignment as a 10-year-old. And so he's been helping other people for 80 years and throughout his career here. So it's very remarkable. He still has the energy to keep going. So it's really nice to have those moments of appreciation for those that continue to serve Oneonta in many ways and for many years. That's 2 more to go. Number 6, this is an update on the agreement with Logan's for 27 Market Street or 23 Market Street. They have signed their license agreement, and we had a productive meeting on Friday to work on the fencing, and they will put forward, they have some design ideas there, they'll put forward an application, met with John Hester on it and got his input. So it looks like that's on track it's gonna go to, an application is gonna get submitted for it, so it'll be reviewed, that's the right word, reviewed. And hopefully that means in September they'll start to work on it. So it's sort of still, we had a little bit of a delay getting them to work through some of the challenges on the fencing, but they have signed it, they've agreed to it. And they have a plan working with some of the collective of the business owners to try to make that happen, so that's good. What's on the item tonight is that there's an addendum that's being requested. When it was first brought to the council back at the end of June, it was anticipated a 20-foot by 10-foot area. As they went through the design, there's essentially 3 gates that would then open to close so they could get in and out to get the dumpsters. And that would require 30 feet by 15 feet, so it's extending it a little bit. If you look at where the dumpsters are located right now, this isn't really going to change the footprint of where they are. It's just maybe we need to accurately measure this in a sense. So this is really isn't going to change the footprint. It's just going to more accurately describe where they're going to put the fence. And it'll be 30 feet by, I think, 10 or 15 feet. So it's just an adjustment tonight, but they're still moving forward with that. Lastly, and this is where I'll end my remarks, is that as you have been informed, that unfortunately Councilmember Len Carson has submitted his resignation effective yesterday. He's another one who has been a leader in our community, a steadfast servant for 34 years in total, from the fire department to the county board to the council. He's always done a great deal of effort to make Oneonta better, and I'm sorry that he cannot finish his term. He's still a member of our community, of course, but I'm sad to see that he will not be a part of our council going forward. There are more details, and he has submitted a statement that he would like us to read, and so our clerk, Karen Harrington, will read that now. So we all have maybe a little bit better understanding of what has transpired this summer that has led up to this moment.
After the Facebook post was released, friends started texting me asking if I was okay. It had not occurred to me folks may think I had a life-threatening condition as for the reason why I was resigning. So I've asked the clerk to read this quick statement to clarify the why. On June 26, 2026, our beautiful 5-month-old grandson, James Anthony Carson Jr., JJ, passed away. He had no known illnesses or health conditions, which makes this loss even worse because we don't know why he left us so soon. Sudden infant death is not an incident any family should have to go through, but it does happen, and the grief of loss of these precious young lives is very real. This tragic loss has affected my son and his wife, grandparents, aunts and uncles, and cousins tremendously, and I need to continue to serve my son and daughter-in-law as they try to piece their lives back together, and this path will take a while. And life events just keep coming. Within 2 weeks of JJ passing, my own mother and my father-in-law required emergency surgery. Thankfully, both are doing better, but require my wife and I to be more engaged in their lives and rehabilitation process. As with most of you, family comes first, so please keep us in your prayers and know I enjoyed serving on council for these last 6.5 years. And know Mayor Butterman with the council will select a Fifth Ward resident who will selflessly serve and give their personal time to make our city a better place to live in. Thank you.
Yeah, I've been to those funerals for kids. Yeah. It hurts all of us. All right, thank you, Glenn Carson, for many years. He's still a friend. He's still a friend of Oneonta, so we'll hopefully see him again.
He'll be deeply missed.
No public hearings. First opportunity to address the council. If you'd like to take this opportunity, we'd like to hear from you. You'll have 3 minutes as soon as you say your name, and then you'll get on your way. So if you'd like to take this first opportunity, please state your name, your connection to the city, and then the 3 minutes is yours. Anyone like to take this opportunity?
Good evening, Charles Sherrard, 391 Chestnut Street, Oneonta, New York. I volunteered at multiple locations in the city for different causes, and I'm a member of First United Methodist Church as well. Good evening. I wanted to briefly remind everyone here of the ice raids that have been taking place over the past few weeks. These events are no longer something that we only see on the news, but have now taken place in our own neighborhoods. I would also like to remind folks that ICE is an organization that has been imposed upon our city from the outside. It is certainly not a product of the Oneonta community. That is why I would ask every member of the council to condemn the raids, both in Oneonta and across the country. Oneonta is a community composed of individuals from many different ethnic, religious, and other socioeconomic backgrounds. To college students, to farmers, professors to caregivers, Puerto Ricans to Indian Americans, we all call this city home. It is my fear that this neighborhood diversity may be exactly why ICE is targeting our city. By turning neighbor against neighbor, they undermine the neighborly spirit that allows this city to be the place that we know it to be. Another concern of mine are the actions against protesters by ICE. While there are protests against them in places like Minneapolis, where there have been fatalities related to those protests. It's especially important for all branches of the Oneonta city government to secure the rights of freedom of speech and assembly for all the inhabitants of Oneonta. There could be no equivocation on these fundamental freedoms. Finally, I would hope that everyone in this room would reject ICE for the simple reason that we are all Oneontans. That, more than partisan or ideological affiliation, is what unites us for who we are. We can be an inspiration to other cities and communities as long as we stand for what we believe in. Oppose ICE, not as Democrats or Republicans, but as Oneontans. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to? Yes, please.
Yes. My name is Josephine Becker. I live on 244 Main Street here in Oneonta. Is there any way we could have like I can use 2 of my minutes out of the 3 to use it as just like a moment of silence for Len Carson's?
It's your time, use it as you wish.
Okay. So if we could just have like a 2-minute moment of silence. Okay, I think I'm ready for my actual speech now. I'm so sorry about that. Hi everyone, as I said, I'm Josephine Becker. So with all the talk on on Oneonta adopting a version of the good cause eviction law, I'd like to give my own 2 cents on the matter. As some of you may already know, I am a renter here in the city myself, and I need to renew my own lease every single year. When I contacted my landlord about renewing my lease last year via calling and texting, it took 2 weeks and 4 separate attempts before I finally got an answer and they opened up talks with me. So by adopting an Oneonta version of the good cause eviction law, I will personally benefit knowing that I won't need to panic each year wondering if my landlord will allow me to renew my lease and keep living here in the city of Oneonta, where I am most comfortable and enjoy living. The same could easily apply to the hundreds of college students or young adults like myself who plan on staying in the city indefinitely. To keep us here and thriving, this law will ensure that nobody slips through the cracks as their lease expires unexpectedly. Furthermore, ensuring rent costs do not annually exceed 10% ensures renters can keep up with costs while maintaining stable employment. This is simply common sense parameters that will benefit all of us and keep our local population and economy stable. And, as a summary, it'll keep people here, and that's always a good thing. So let's see if we can get it done. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to take this opportunity? Okay, there'll be a second one. Any correspondence? Thank you. Presentations. Budget later on, there's no other presentations. Okay, now we're on to the city administrator's report.
I'm not going to give a report tonight. I'm just going to try to shorten up the meeting a little bit, so hopefully we'll have a chance to go down to National Night Out after the fact. They're down there at Nasty Field until about 8 p.m. tonight, so if you're able to get out in time, feel free to swing by if you can. And the police department and many others hopefully are down there.
So
I'll take any questions, of course, if you'd like.
I forgot about that. His report was about 30 minutes, so by carving that out, you have 30 minutes to head down there if you'd like. Okay. Committee reports, finance and HR. Do you meet?
Yes, I just want to mention, just to put a plug, as I said earlier, there's a really nice description in the finance committee packet. Thank you very much. And it just gives a description, I think, very, very well of the design and then the time frame for the mural. And we discussed that the project would potentially begin in September and take roughly about 3 weeks for completion. That's the estimated amount, yeah. So the 2 big items that we discussed are now discussion items, and that is we had a discussion of the overtime expenditures, and then, which is motion 10, and then we also had a discussion about the staffing pilot study for the fire department, and we'll hear further about that with motion 11 tonight.
Any questions? No? Okay, thank you. Okay, moving to the motions. First one, motion one, that the common council approves the warrants received as of August 4th, 2026, in a total amount to be determined following the complete implementation of accounts payable module within the Tyler Technology ERP Pro Financial System, provided that the detailed list of warrants shall be presented to the common council for review as soon as it is available. Councilmember McHugh, and first, Councilmember Matheson, second. Questions? Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Walsh Russo,
Yes?
Councilmember McHugh,
Aye.
Councilmember LaFarge,
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Marks,
Yes.
Councilmember Matheson.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, next move to the consent agenda, which is motions 2 through 9. Councilmember Walsh Russo mentioned the two that are in discussion item agenda. Would anyone like to move any consent agenda items to the discussion agenda?
No.
No? Okay. Get a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented. Councilmember Parshu, second, first, who's the second? Second, all right, Walsh Russo, second. Second, thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Walsh Russo,
Yes?
Councilmember McHugh,
Aye.
Councilmember LaFarge,
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Marks,
Yes.
Councilmember Matheson.
Yes.
Thank you. Also, like there was noting that with that approval came two new members of commissions. We have Rosalie Forth, who will be joining the Community Police Board, and Landmarks and Historic Preservation will be welcoming Becky Thomas. So thank you to both of them for stepping forward to serve the community on those boards and commissions.
Yeah, well, it was just copy.
Okay, now we're on to motion 10, discussion agenda. Motion that the common council approves a budget amendment total $155,000 to cover anticipated overtime expenditures with the fire department, increasing 8.0599 appropriated fund balance and increasing 8.3410.12 personal services overtime. Okay. Councilmember Parshu is first, Councilmember Harrington is second. Thank you. All right, discussion. Questions, comments, who would like to take us off?
I have no questions.
I wonder if we could hear from the chief to explain it. He gave an explanation at the finance committee meeting, and I think to put it into perspective, if it's okay with the council.
Would you like to do that, Chief?
I wasn't really prepared to talk about the overtime portion of it, but
Want to talk about the other part?
Well, the two are related, maybe you
Yeah.
could touch on both of them at the same time. Is that permitted?
I
How about-
would prefer to have the documentation in front of me so I can accurately advise you guys on why we're where we're at.
Okay. Let's go to, would you summarize some discussion from the finance committee?
What's that? Excuse me, just a minute.
Like
What
I
would you-
say, and maybe the city administrator could help also, but from our discussion, we discussed how this is a transfer of funds for $155,000 from the unrestricted fund balance, and that this is not just a transfer, but it requires, because of the adjustment, it requires a budget amendment. And so there is an estimate of additional $24,000 in overtime costs. And that is something that we're going to talk about that may be incurred with that 1-month pilot study that we're going to be talking about with Motion 11.
You're right.
Mhm. And so it was recommended to the council that we use this, that we amend the budget to use up to $155,000 from the general unrestricted fund balance.
Mhm.
And that is to just to cover. And so the finance committee report has the breakdown in terms of the various revenue streams that amount would be coming from.
Mhm.
Is there anything
Would
that?
help?
Mm-hmm.
Anyone have any questions on that, like to discuss?
So all I want to say is that motion 10 and 11 are closely related.
Yep.
And I think 11 would require a somewhat detailed explanation.
Okay. Ready to move?
Yeah, we can take a
Okay.
vote.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Walsh Russo,
Yes?
Councilmember McHugh,
Aye.
Councilmember LaFarge,
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Marks,
Yes.
Councilmember Matheson.
Now we'll move to motion 11, that the common council approve the peak call volume staffing pilot study and associated response directive as presented to be implemented by the fire chief for the trial period beginning August 5th, 2026 and ending September 5th, 2026. All right.
Second.
Sorry, what?
Yes.
Okay, you're gonna get the first. Councilmember Harrington, first.
Second.
Second by Councilmember LaFarge. Thank you. All right, who would like to open the discussion?
I thought the document was very thorough. I don't know if everyone feels that way, because I've had some contextualizing conversations around it. But basically, we're gonna try this out to see if it improves, if it lifts all boats in terms of work-life balance and service response. And I appreciate all the thought and effort that went into it from the fire department. Oh, I think it's worth calling out that it hasn't been negotiated with the collective bargaining unit. Is that right? It would require negotiation if we pass this?
My understanding
For
was,
this study, we do not need to do anything with the CBA. If we were to hire additional staff with an alternate schedule
Okay.
for like 2027, if you choose, then that would need to be negotiated because that would be different.
Got it. Okay, thank you for clarifying.
yes, please.
I just want to put out there that, Greg, I'm looking right at you. So Greg and the chief and a couple of us, there's a task force that are really working on this. There's been a lot of meetings, the mayor's been involved with it too. And there's been a lot of long discussions, a lot of hard questions being asked, a lot of things being tossed around, ideas to, so I think this is a good first step. I mean, the chief has, I think, pitched this now 2.5 years to us about his heat index, as I call it, where the bulk of the calls come. So as we're sitting here talking about it, we kind of sat there and said, let's start it, let's see how it goes. Because we're at the point now where we need more data to carry us through so that we can figure out the next steps. So, and I just want the people to know, the public and stuff that's reached out is, we couldn't say a lot because we were behind closed doors working on it. So it's not like we could come right out and say, hey, because we wanted to have a fair shot at what we were working at, so.
Work in progress for a long time.
Mhm. Yes, please.
And the fire chief and the assistant are very thorough, and it's very much data-driven. The purpose of the study, all of the incidents that happen, total incidents analyzed right here are almost 1,900, and then the percent that calls that were called during staffing periods and overlap rate outside, so it's very clear that there is a need to have additional staff during the peak call period. It's very, a lot of information. I had a summary, but I don't know what I did with it. But anyway, August 2026 peak call volume pilot, it will only be a month, but I have a feeling we may want to extend it. We'll have an overlap between the tours with the baseball season, the students coming back to Hartwick College and SUNY Oneonta. So a month may not even be enough to evaluate this pilot, but I'm definitely in favor of doing this. Talks about incident activity, the callback utilization, mutual aid, response, and most importantly, I think for all of us, firefighter workload and safety is really key. So we all know that there was a fire just recently on Luther Street, and I just feel it's so important that response time is key to saving not only lives but people's property and anything that goes along with that. So the overall pilot evaluation, we should have information at the end of the September 2026, and the proposed staffing schedule requires a total of 732 overtime hours. So we need to see how we can operationally work well to save people's lives or property, everything else that goes along with public safety. So I'm definitely in favor.
Thank you. Councilmember Hudson, yes, please.
So, one of the things about the fire department is their overtime costs regularly exceed the budget. And it's a complicated thing. Part of it is management, part of it is things like we were talking about, coverage, we have to cover the incidents that we have to go respond to. And so this is a 1-month test of a possible solution to the problem, and I think it's worth trying.
Thank you. Councilmember Walsh, please.
So just to speak on behalf of the Finance and HR Committee, in our discussion, we talked about whether or not, and this is something that Councilmember Marks just mentioned, is 1 month going to be enough to get an idea, a real sense of the patterns as they emerge? So I just want to put that, really, that question to the council.
I have a question. Are you suggesting we address that tonight or sometime in the future?
If we're voting on this, perhaps.
No, I mean extending it for more than a month.
I'm not proposing extending it more than a month. I'm asking if that is a consideration that we should take up.
You'll have to consider that, I think.
Yes.
Well, that's, when I read the proposal, I was surprised that it was only 1 month. I know that the heat map is from like, voluminous data that it's been distilled into a pretty identifiable pattern, but in terms of whether or not, there are varying situations, as Councilmember Marks was saying with, students coming back and it might be good to get a longer data set, and so I was wondering if maybe we could understand before we make any decision on 1 month or suggest longer than 1 month, why 1 month is what was suggested to us for this pilot? Or, do you feel like that's sufficient, or is it a money-saving thing, or, what was the reasoning behind only proposing it for 1 month?
So Greg and I talked about it, logistically, trying to get our staff to commit to 3 months of basically working day on, day off, day on, day off, to fill it, was one of our biggest challenges. Looking at the data, I feel like the data speaks for itself. It's really just trying to implement it and see what operational tweaks we need to make to it to just maximize its efficacy. So I think really, at the very least, if we can get 1 month, to be quite honest with you, the price tag, I felt like I could sell 1 month price tag versus a 3 month price tag, which is costing them about $24,000 to $25,000 each month for that overtime. So I was hopeful to at least get the 1 month trial and then hopefully go from there, be able to report back on it.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
No.
Yes, of course.
Do you think it would be relatively easy to extend the trial, or how much turnaround time would you need? If you do decide that you want to do it for more time, if we were to vote on it, we wouldn't be able to vote on it. Because you're not starting until September?
Starting tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Oh, goodness.
August 5th.
You're ready,
So,
okay.
yes,
So-
They're ready.
Okay,
They're ready.
okay, well then, that kind of answers the question.
So this would be, if
You
you go
guys
by the
move quick.
calendar, we'd have next meeting and then the other meeting, so there would be some checkpoints.
Okay, cool. All right, good. And you feel like those would be sufficient if you did want to extend it and council was on board with that, and feel like we would have sufficient opportunity to check in and be able to do that?
I feel like I would want like a 2-week
Yeah.
time period to analyze the data and
Okay.
have an officers meeting, talk with the officers on how it went, and really get the feedback from the staff on their thoughts, so it's not just coming from me, because they're the ones that are doing the work.
Yeah.
And then be able to bring that back to you. I mean, we've been setting this up for a while now, so the crews have been working on their schedules and filling these shifts, so it's not something, well, if you vote for it, we're gonna implement it tomorrow, but it's taken 2 weeks to
Okay.
really work out all the bugs and get the staffing
Okay,
where it needs to be.
so it would be reasonable to stop the pilot and then pick it up again if your staff and everybody who was involved felt like it was a good thing to continue to do. Okay,
We don't have the data for the students, if we do it right now.
right,
So would it make more sense to do it for like 2?
yes, or maybe start it later, is
I
that?
think
Yeah.
I think in some of our discussions, we're actually busier now. Right, Chief, wasn't that what we were discussing, like, we're busier now with the baseball camps and stuff going than we.
Other than that, but August, from going all the way back to 2022, August and September are busiest months, because we're transitioning out of baseball and to bringing all the college kids back, so it's historically our busiest.
Okay.
I think we're ready, or we're not.
I have one last, and this is perhaps not even in relation to well, it is connected, and I think it begs the question, the pilot begs the question about the role of other sources for providing these various services. And so I wonder specifically about the role of Otsego County and I wonder to what extent the study explored the possibility of sharing these services with the county.
I wasn't on 100% of the minutes of each of these meetings, but most of it. And we explored different avenues. And it came to settling on this as a test area because there might be some immediate response that would be beneficial to further planning. And so yes, that came up as well. There was a number of things that came up. As far as taking this one step forward, this seems to be the one where we might be able to make immediate implementation, at least in the run-up that the chief mentioned, but also get feedback relative to some of the data that's already put forward and how this might fit into that. So this doesn't necessarily exclude other ideas or other initiatives that might be undertaken. This is one where it seemed that we might be able to implement it, get useful feedback that align with the data that the chief had presented and has been analyzing, and this might then fit into a solid solution to address some of it, but it's not necessarily meant to be all of it. It's a good question. Good question. That did almost, the way you asked it, almost the same way it came up in the meeting.
Great minds.
Yeah. Add it again.
Think I'll
Yeah. Other questions or comments? Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Walsherson?
Yes.
Councilmember McHugh?
Aye.
Councilmember McPherson?
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington?
Aye.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes.
Councilmember Mattis?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, now we're on to the roundtable section. There is a submission of a 30-day advanced notice to local municipality liquor license. The new liquor, wine, beer, and cider has been received from Jammies LLC, was received from the property located at 437 Main Street.
Oh, is that supplemental?
This is, I gotta do myself. We'll come
It's
back.
okay.
Let's do this, and then we'll go back to that one.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I forgot what the supplement. Okay, we just have to mention it, any comments or questions, and if none, then we report and then waive the 30-day. Settling in on this.
Can I ask a question? I
Nope.
don't object, I don't mind waiving it, but didn't we do this?
We have done, this will be the third time doing it.
Oh.
I don't know at what process, what portion of the application process there's a misstep on their behalf,
Gotcha.
but it always comes back to them having to provide you notification.
Okay, they're gonna try again.
Yeah.
Okay,
As I say, third time.
right. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay,
that
any,
would be great. No
okay,
objection.
no objections. All right, having no objections, comments, then we can submit it, and I forget the word that the attorney used last time. It's no,
We waive the.
waive 30 days.
Within
no-
30-day
Yeah.
time period to make comment.
Yeah, thank you.
That allows them to make, to speed it up by 30 days.
Yep. Sounds right? Got it. All right. Thank you for mentioning it. There is a supplemental agenda, that's number 12. This goes to what I mentioned at the beginning as far as making an alteration to the agreement that we worked on June 30th for Logan's, that essentially it was 20 by 15. This will make it 30 by 15. That's the change. They have agreed to it, they've already signed the license, and so this was when we had the actual fencing and the equipment that they're putting in there, the dumpsters that they're putting in there. This would allow them the access, the gated access in and out, to clear it out. Motion that the common council approves the following resolution as presented. Any motion? Councilmember Matheson, is that a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, first, Councilmember Marks, second. To be redundant, go over it again. Any questions or comments?
I have a comment.
Yes, please.
I think we should, I think this will solve the problem that we've been kicking around for months. When originally I saw the 20 by 15, I thought that was going to be awful tight. I'm glad it's being expanded.
Yes, I think that was realized rather quickly. Once you start putting pen to paper and drawing it out, you need to be 30 feet. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Wilcherson?
Yes.
Councilmember Kim?
Aye.
Councilmember Bergstrom?
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington?
Aye.
Councilmember Mark?
Yes.
Councilmember Matheson?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, going back to the roundtable, wasn't on there bulleted, but I have to go back to the roundtable for a moment to get some thoughts and feedback on replacing Councilmember Carson's position on the council. So, as I know by the charter, I put forward a nomination for consideration and then approval by the council in order to make this a process transparent, effective, and hopefully rather quick, considering that we have a budget that we're coming into. I would like to put forward the public notice that the clerk's office will do, requesting letters of interest from eligible candidates from the 5th Ward. And then Councilmember and Deputy Mayor Harrington and I will review those initially and sort of prepare and then present them either as a task force, if there's 2 or 3 that want to look at it. This is where I'm up to that point. Now I'm looking, who wants to look at those before we come to a full council?
Is that a question?
Yeah, it is. Okay, we got one. Anyone else like to participate in that? Okay, party of 3?
I have another question. Do we have a good way of letting the public know that this is an open seat and encourage people to inquire?
A good way is certainly a debatable definition. We will use the usual and customary ways of notifying the public of any sort of meeting or hearing that has to be done. So we'll use the usual customary ways. If you have, I'm sure in your networks, you might know someone in the 5th Ward, and if you think they might be a good candidate, then I hope you will recommend them to submit their letter of interest. But aside from that, we'll use our usual public channels to notify the public, and hopefully that will be received, and then we'll get some candidates that will step forward.
I asked Rafi, he wasn't interested.
Ask again.
You got it.
Okay. Yeah, I got it. Okay. So then we'll do is we'll request, and then my goal, which I'm not necessarily going to make it as a promise, but hopefully by next meeting or by the time the next committee meeting, then we'll have some candidates to bring forward to show to you. So again, we can move this hopefully quickly, but if time requires another meeting, then we'll do it. But at least I'll have at the very minimum an update. At best, a nomination. Any questions on that? Or?
Sounds great.
All right. That'll be the plan. So we'll get started on that right away. Any other roundtables items like to discuss before we move to budget? Yes, please.
I just was curious where we were with the city administrator evaluation, performance evaluation.
Performance evaluation. Good question. I apologize. Did we discuss this before, or was I discussing this? We discussed this. Okay. Okay. Thank you. So, I received some feedback on the last iteration of it, and based on that, I'm going to condense it based on those comments. I think actually we did discuss it, I think, on the phone, and then some other comments I received back. Taking those comments, I'll condense it into a final document. This will be hopefully the last iteration, or at least substantial change to it, and then I'll present it to you for final comment and then delivery. So it's, thank you.
Like in the next month, is that?
Yeah, right, yeah. I don't think we'll need to do another executive session to review it. Michael, since we had our review session, we discussed it. I'm trying to basically prepare it so I can give it to him in a way that we all can see it clearly.
Right.
The feedback was helpful in that I can then hopefully condense it and make it more concise and therefore more informative for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good question, thank you. Apologies, because I forget when we talked about it, what we were talking about. Yes, please.
I have a separate question
Mhm.
about the communications committee.
Yes.
What was that folded into?
That was folded into the community, CLIPS, Community Legislative Infrastructure Public Safety.
Right,
Yeah.
so the reason I'm mentioning it is because originally we had a schedule for this, a meeting scheduled for this week, and that's been canceled, I
Mhm.
understand. And the one important piece of business I would recommend that the council, that the committee considers is the city's website.
Mhm.
And the city clerk is preparing a document that they can review, and that's coming sometime in the future.
I think that should be on the agenda.
I just want to make sure that Corey Rowe knows that there is not a meeting, because he has been coming monthly, and maybe he can start coming to the CLIPS committee. Yeah.
Which we- yeah. Yeah, that should be on the agenda, because the communication work, communication committee will then be forwarded into that committee, so that will need to be addressed. Speaking of which, we'll make one change to the committee. Councilmember Price Shu will move from Finance Administration's Strategic Operations to the CLIPS committee, and then the new member appointed to fill Van Carson's seat will be appointed to the Finance Administration Strategic Operations Committee.
You're warm welcome, thank you.
You didn't know that, okay.
Didn't know.
Yes. This helped, thank you for being flexible and changing. This will help keep the committees on a consistent time schedule, and that way they'll fit into your schedule. Other roundtable discussions or questions like to discuss now? Okay, I think we're ready for the budget discussion. Who is? I was gonna say I didn't put a time frame on it. This is an initial discussion, so we're.
Do we need to
It's
give
like
commissioners a
Dr.
second opportunity now?
Sure, do you want?
Versus not making
Okay,
a leap?
if you are not interested in sticking around for the budget discussion, which is our first budget discussion, and you'd like to take the second opportunity to address the council, you may do so. We'll move that ahead of the budget discussion. And if that way you would like to leave, then you're welcome to leave or stay. Anyone like to take the second opportunity? Okay, thank you. That has been covered. So then we'll move to budget discussion. After that, there is no requirement for executive session tonight. That will be determined. So we'll move to budget. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Okay, so you'll find in front of you your 2018 budget, the beginnings of our budget season. And right now, we just have a few tabs set up, and we'll be adding this as the process goes on. But what I'd like to talk to you about tonight is our 2025 financial highlights. We just completed the audit field work, and just so you know that there were no findings and there were no adjustments to our financial statements. And so we're going to receive an unqualified opinion yet again, and which is the highest opinion that you can get in an audit report. I also heard from the state controller today that they accepted our annual financial report with no changes. So I'm very pleased to share that with the council. So in 2025, the first memo I'd like to go over, I will apologize to the council. There's some stuff in this book that I planned on having here tonight, but I just ran out of time. So we'll be getting that at the next budget meeting. And that's the 2026 highlights, year to date, which I'll be doing. And, but let's discuss 2025. So, as you know, we have an agreement with the county to collect sales tax, or our property taxes until April 30th of the year. As of May 1st, they get turned over to the county. In 2026, we collected almost 8.9 million. It was 8.943 million, and we had a warrant adjustment of 41,000, and we returned to the county 1.3 million, or 13.3%. The number of parcels went up this year to 225. That was due to a very large homeowner that owns several properties in the area not paying their taxes this season, and that got returned to the county. That was a total of 21 properties. There was also another landlord, homeowner that had several properties who passed away. So their estate is dealing with their property. So that's why the number is up from the previous year. Outside of that, it's usually the same properties that get moved on to the county. Pilot agreements, I listed all the pilot agreements there for you. None have changed for 2025, but I did make a note to you that the Foothills pilot agreement has expired, and Greg and I need to get with that organization to get that pilot agreement renewed. And we are also currently in discussion with RSS for the Soltis Commons development. And as that discussion moves forward, we'll be bringing that for council suggestions and consideration. So the pilot revenues for 2025 came in at $308,000, and it's estimated to be about the same number for this year. But for 2027, the estimate has gone up to about $315,000. The 2025, the general fund, the budget, the adopted budget to the adjusted budget went up $2.4 million, and main reasons for that, I'm going to break it out this year between restricted and unrestricted. We had encumbrances roll over from 2024, so that's $187,000, and then we had fire salary increases. We had the fire ladder truck repair, the fire radio upgrade, the city clerk staffing, the downtown support campaign, Tyler Technology, the council chamber improvement project, 27 Market Street demo, the Galadora Memorial Stage, and NYSERDA grants. Some of these were offset by revenues, but that is a budget amendment which increased the total adoption. And then for the restricted fund balances, the budget amendments was re-encumbrances. We had outstanding encumbrances of $634,000 for restricted funds. Then we increased the sidewalk replacement, the Brenner building deck replacement, the Westcott lot retaining wall, police patrol vehicle, tractors and assault spreader, off-airport obstruction removal, and the airport reconstruction terminal, and the airport construction taxiway. And those are all things that come to the council for their approvals. So I want to just summarize the revenues. In 2025, we had $20.6 million worth of revenue, and I tried to put it in order of amounts. So you will see that there are 6 revenue sources that provide almost 88% of the city's revenue. That's our sales tax, which is 31.15%, our tax levy, which is 26.9%, state aid, the town fire contract, and ambulance services. And then I listed all the categories there for your read, so you can see where all of our revenue sources come from. The expenses for 2025 was $20.7 million, and again, almost 65% of it is salary and fringe benefits. I also, on the top line, showed that there was almost $1.6 million spent from our restricted reserves, and that is what we set those reserves up for, is to target that money onto those purposes. And also at the end of the year, we had $506,000 worth of outstanding encumbrances, which rolls over into 2026, and $240,000 of that is from restricted reserves. Our sales tax history, in 2025, we collected or received $6.4 million of sales tax revenue, which was up 2.9% from the previous year. And as of May of 26, we've collected almost $2.9 million, which is 6.4% higher than last year year to date. The adult use of cannabis sales tax, we collected $143,000 in 2025, and that was down just a little bit from the previous year. And so far, we've only received one payment in 2026 for just about $37,000. The ambulance revenue history, you will see that we are above pre-COVID numbers. In 2025, we were able to bill 2,377 ambulance calls, and you will see that the net revenue was $1.2 million, just a little bit higher than the previous year. And I just want to explain for the people that are not familiar with our ambulance revenues, the council sets the ambulance rates based on the type of service that's delivered, but quite often we do not collect nearly that amount of money. And the reason being is because when an insurance company, when you are participating in an insurance company plan, you have to accept what the insurance company pays, so that's called a contractual allowance. And then also what Medicare and Medicaid pay. So that money has to legally get written off of the bill, and we're not able to bill a patient for that. So the contractual allowances is 58.3% of what we actually bill. And then we have bad debt write-offs of 6.6. So what basically out of what we bill for our ambulance calls, we collect just under 35% of those revenues. And the reason why we have our ambulance rates where we do is because all of the commercial insurance pays a much higher rate than the Medicare and Medicaid. Any questions so far? And I'm kind of speeding through this, but I wanted to not make the statement too terribly long. Fire protection service town, the service contract with the town, as you know, the contract is for the town contract for fire protection of about $50,000 a year, and that will go through 2028. And I have presented comparisons of flat dollar increases versus formula, and I have shown to the council at that time how much more we collect when it's a flat dollar amount increase versus a formula. And it's worked out very well. We did the same thing with the ambulance contract with the town. Interest earnings in 2025 was down from the previous year, mainly because of cash flow with all the capital projects that were going on, and also the interest rates have come down just somewhat from the previous year. Court fines, you'll see that in 2025 parking fines, we collected a little over 66,000 in parking tickets, which was down by 21,000 from the previous year. And if the council approves implementing paid parking, we will be able to collect a lot more in revenues from paid parking incentives versus punitive reactions by issuing parking tickets. I've told the council before, I get many requests at the windows to pay for parking permits. They would much rather do that than receive parking tickets. And so I hope the council seriously considers that. State aid, we received the same state aid in 2025, and we are scheduled to receive the same state aid in 2026. But however, the temporary aid that we received in 2025 was the $259,000. However, for this year, this fall, the governor has approved, the governor's budget has approved that that amount is tripled. So we will be receiving over $777,000 additional state aid.
That's great.
Which is remarkable for the and then salary and fringe benefits, the expenditures. This I think is really important to point out. We will see that the base salaries went up $227,000 or 3.9%. And that was the one of the goals when we adjusted the salaries from the salary study. That way, in the future years, the increases will be much smaller. So you will see that in 23 it went up 6.2% or 6.3%. 24 it went up almost 12.9%. And 25 3.2. And so that is a really good statistic there to show you. Then I also gave you the overtime costs. It went from $980,000 in 24 to $835,000 in 25. And then I broke that out for you for police and fire because that is where the majority of the overtime is incurred for the city. So I gave you a history of police and fire from going back from 2017 to 2025. Health insurance. You will see that health insurance went up 9.9% between 24 and 25. But one thing that I'd like to really point out to you, if you look at the 2017 cost of health insurance, it was $2.7 million. It's now $2.8 million. And it's about $130,000 greater than 2017, which is only 4.7%. So by switching our approach to health insurance, by joining the consortium, it really has almost saved the city. I would say the first year was over $500,000. So we have really been able to save a lot on our health insurance costs by making that change. Now, on the opposite side is the retirement costs. So if you look at the retirement costs, it was $1.9 million, and it went up 11.25%. And if you compare it back to 2017, it's gone up $852,000, or almost 77%. that is a tremendous amount of money for a small municipality like the city to absorb in the budget. So to summarize up the general fund, I read you page 9, which is the general fund balance. And what I've provided here for you is I've broken it out between unrestricted, restricted, non-spendable, and total. I've showed you what we transferred between the unrestricted to the restricted funds, which was the 1.7 million. Showed the revenues and expenditures and the change in value for the non-spendable amount. And I showed you what the balance was at the end of 25. And then I included what is to be, what we consider as a sign, which is the outstanding purchase orders and what we committed in the budget. So it brings it down to the available balance of 8.4 million of unrestricted, 4.4 million restricted, and a total of $13 million for available fund balance. So the unrestricted unassigned fund balance actually realized $837,000 surplus in 2025, and because it went from 9.6 million up to 10.4 million. The restricted reserves utilized a net of $1.1 million of their funds, and it was replenished by the 1.7 million that the council approved to transfer to the restricted. So it resulted in a net increase of $609,000. And because of the combination of the outstanding purchase orders and restricted reserves will be decreased by the 1.7 million, it's recommended that the council consider replenishing the reserves by 850,000. And we have listed our suggestions there for the council consideration. 350,000 to the highway equipment, 200,000 to public safety, 50,000 to building, 50,000 to repairs, 50,000 to IT, 100,000 to parks and recs, and 50,000 to the airport. And then the available unrestricted unassigned fund balance, again, I gave you a schedule of how it changed from 24 to 25, and within that being 8.4 million. And this is equivalent to 40.15% of the 26 adopted budget. Our fund policy is that it be 35%, so we're very close. And if you are to appropriate the 850,000 to restricted reserves, then the unrestricted fund balance will be 36.1% of our adopted budget. So that's a very quick overview of the general fund. And so before I move on to the water and sewer, I just wanted to know if anybody had any questions.
What, sorry, on page 4, what qualifies as services? So under expenses, 2025 total, 20,772,144. 8.03% of that is listed as services. Could you just elaborate on what that means?
There's a number of them. There's maintenance and repairs contracts. There's purchase services for example, when we hire engineering services, or we have our auditing services, if we have our legal services, our auditing services, things like that. Professional. And we also have, and our consulting services, those type of things.
Okay.
And I can give you a more detail, Katie, if you would like me to.
No, that's okay. I just wondered broadly what that meant. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry, nope, not another question. Actually, yes, one more question.
Okay.
It's just the beginning.
That's okay.
Well, it's August now, so.
Yes.
Okay, so you had mentioned briefly in your overview about the fire protection services in the town, that the flat dollar amount was more beneficial, and I just wanted to follow up for more explanation on that, because
The contract used to be based on a formula. So
Okay.
we would take the actual costs and all of these different revenues, and we would take percentages of assessed value. It's a very complicated formula. And sometimes the revenues would go up, sometimes they would go down. It would depend on the activity. And so what I did is I did a 10-year analysis of what that contract form showed. And then I said, okay, if we had just done a $50,000 flat rate increase over those 10 years, we would have collected more than $900,000 more.
Oh, wow. Okay. And how often do you do that, 10 years?
It's usually a 5-year agreement. So this one will be expiring in 2028.
And will you do this 10-year look back again?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yep, absolutely, yep. And the town, that town also welcomed the flat dollar amount because they didn't like it when they got big surprises.
Sure,
Like
they
if
could
I
budget
sent
for
them
it,
a
just
bill
like we can budget.
one year for $180,000, and then the next year I sent them a bill for $332,000. it was just very hard on the town fire district to be able to deal with that.
So in 2028, or before that, you'll do the 10-year look back, and it may be, you know, it'll be different, but based on,
Yes.
okay.
There's that in there. And again, it's kind of a slow and steady approach because it compounds year after year.
Right,
And that way the town can absorb it at a much more steady pace.
sure.
And then we can then absorb it, you know, and be able to predict our budget. Because quite often, you know, years ago when it wasn't the flat dollar amount, it was very hard for us to predict what the next year's budget was, because another part of the contract is that it was 2 years behind. It was always looking, you know, so for 26, I'd be looking at 24 activity.
Right,
And so you just never knew what the dollar was going to be. And
right.
then if the equalization rate changed and we were basing it on the full value, that would also greatly affect the final result of the formula.
Can I just amend my comments, because I said that you will do this look back in 2028, and I hope that there is someone who is qualified and eager, and you are like retired at a resort somewhere. Sorry.
Well, I left really good roadmaps, so.
Jenny,
So,
when you're finished, I'm really confused on page 5 with the ambulance revenue history,
Okay.
Medicaid, Medicare, Medicaid,
okay,
I
so
don't understand this.
when, depending on the type of insurance that you have, will depend on the type of reimbursement the city will get for the service. So if you're a private pay, you're responsible for 100% of the bill. If you are a Medicare or Medicaid patient, we will be forced to accept whatever Medicare and Medicaid pays. And we will not be allowed to bill the patient for the balance. If you are Blue Cross will have a set amount that they will pay for ambulance, and then set amount they will pay for mileage on the ambulance. That amount is what we have to accept. And if our bill is $2,000 and Blue Cross says, I'm only gonna pay you $900, then we have to write that difference off. It just has to do with the health insurance laws.
Okay, thank you.
Different insurances will have different reimbursement rates, but that's why it's good for us to have our rates where we have them, because we will collect a lot more from the insurance companies than, we know that we reach a peak with Medicare and Medicaid, but it's the insurance coverage that we want to benefit from.
The private insurance.
Private insurance,
Okay.
correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
One quick timeline question. I know. Well, there's one at a time, so usually. Unless there's a follow-up, in which case there's one follow-up. Timeline for usually this, adding things to the restricted reserves comes to us in a motion. Just when can we expect that?
Well, it's gonna depend on when you want to make the decision. So this time of year, I always give you this recommendation.
Just as a
And
heads
you
up.
guys discuss it during the budget time, and then I always ask when you're ready to make your decision.
Sounds good, thank you.
Okay, water fund highlights. One schedule that I actually had to eliminate from my 25 analysis was how we budgeted a deficit and how we ended up with surplus. I ran out of time with the Tyler conversion and all that work that it's taking. I will get that schedule to you, so you will understand what the budget differences were in the different categories, so you'll know how much more extra revenue we got versus how many expenses we saved.
Okay.
So that will be forthcoming. Okay, the water fund, again, we adopted a budget at 3.4, it got adjusted up to just over 4 million, and those increases were due to re-encumbrances from the previous year, Tyler Technology, the intersection of Market and South Main, the water main break, the water sewer service truck, and the timber sales. The council passed a motion, I'm gonna say maybe 3 years ago, that any timber sales that we receive on the watershed land gets transferred to the landscaping. So that's what that 219,000 is the transfer of the sales. And I don't bring that back every time because the council has already approved that, they established the fund, and in that motion it said any future sales will be transferred to that fund. The revenues were 3.8 million, the expenses were 3.7. And they had outstanding purchase orders at the end of the year of 58,000, with 49 of that coming from the reserves. The water billing history. All right, so I want to say the non-college customers. It increased 204,000, which is 8.81%, with the college going up 116,000 or 15.8%. And part of the requirements for the financial statements for the water and sewer funds is we have to estimate uncollectibles on our outstanding receivables. Because at this point in time, the city is not able to re-levy any of the out-of-boundary water bills anywhere in the town, I have to do an allowance. We've got 5 customers in the town that are very much delinquent. 2 of them are on payment plans. 1 of those payment plans has been paid in full by now. There's 2 other ones that I need to pursue more strict collection processes. So I'll be talking to the city attorney about those accounts. So as a result of that analysis and estimates, we have an allowance on the books of $130,000. So the water fund balance, I gave you the same schedule showing from 24 to 25 between the unrestricted, restricted, and non-spendable. And so the total went from the 2.2 million to available fund balance of $2,063,000. So the unrestricted fund balance in the water fund, we realized a surplus of almost $75,000. And I gave some detail there on the surpluses of the water meter sales. And but what I wanted to stress to you is that the water revenues are not growing at the pace required for the future infrastructure plans that we need to do. You've heard Chris Yacobucci talk about the 44 miles of water mains that we have to replace. Our goal is to be able to raise enough money to be able to start replacing at least 1 mile to 2 miles of water main every year. That's about $2 million a year. So we're trying to build up the reserve so we can do that. So the rate structure that's being considered, and again, I just have not had the time to finalize it to bring it for your review yet, is to change the water rate structure to be 2-tiered. So what we would do is once we switch everybody over to quarterlies, and by the way, I'm looking at you, Katie, I was on with UB today for Tyler to convert UB, and the new program is just wonderful. You're just gonna love it. So anyway, we can.
That's the first time I saw you get excited.
Yeah, no, it's just, well, Carrie will tell you, every time I'm like, oh, look at this, it's just gonna be really cool. And, customers are actually gonna be able to get online, they're gonna be able to get on, they're gonna be able to see all of their history, it's just really, really cool. And another good thing that I want to tell you guys, I found this out yesterday, we can set up ACH payments in this system. So the customer will have to give us permission, they'll have to give us their routing number and their bank account number to make water payments. They can do it on a monthly basis, they can do it in total, and it will not cost them any extra fees. Woo! So, you know, the credit card fee and the e-check fee, they won't have to do that. If they send it for ACH, there's no extra charge.
Excellent.
And we can initiate that. We can just have the customer sign the paperwork, tell us what day they want the money to come out, and we can initiate it on our side. So I'm really excited about that.
And sorry, follow-up question, just one.
For
When
now.
can we look forward to that?
Well, we should be going live with our first, real lead in November.
Okay.
So it's gonna take us a while.
I
That's why
volunteer as
the
tribute.
motions are changed right now for the warrants, because it's just taking us a while to get everything up and running and all the configuration done.
Okay.
But
Wait.
I have a question. Could you explain how those automatic payments would work again? How do you set that up?
so what you would do, just like say you're NYSEG, right? You tell NYSEG that you want them to automatically take the payment out the 15th of the month, right? So you can sign up on the ACH authorization. You can say, you can take $50 a month out of my account and put it towards my water bill. Or if you just want to pay it once, you can say, I want my water bill paid in whole on this date.
And it comes from a bank account?
It comes what?
It comes from a bank account, is what you
It will
said?
come right out of their bank account, correct? Yeah. So they won't have to write us a
Right.
check, they won't have to give us their credit card. and there won't be any additional fee.
Mhm.
So I like wrote that in red in my notebook. I was like, so anyway.
Seriously, if
So-
you need a guinea pig, like, I'm your gal, happy to test it out.
Yes.
Um,
So, as soon as I, we get everything, we'll.
sorry, I have
Ah,
It's about because you mentioned this, going live in November maybe for
So, first
for
of all,
testing.
that's gonna be our first live read, and then we're going to create the billings for for the month of November, for the November customers.
Okay, but that's not for the entire Tyler implementation, so like,
No,
all of a sudden I was like,
we're doing
oh,
things
warrants?
we're doing things in stages. Right now we've gone live with, financials,
Okay,
and we're starting to go live with cashiering. Then we're gonna go live with AR and inventory, and then we're gonna go live, with UB, and then we're gonna go live with payroll, and so there's stages all around.
okay, cool, thank you.
My question, this was Tyler allows that, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, the Tyler program allows us to be able to do that.
Right, that was my question, yeah,
Yes.
okay, thank you.
And Jenny, would that also, would customer or residents be able to pay their taxes through this?
Right
at
now,
some point?
the taxes, we are not doing tax collection through the Tyler program.
Okay.
So eventually, probably what is going to happen is that we will coordinate with the county.
Oh, okay.
And because the county right now, because throughout Otsego County, they're losing a lot of tax collectors. So the county is taking over tax collection for a lot of the small municipalities. They are not ready to take on somebody as large as the city, but Ellen and I are working together as far as, even if we can just get it incorporated, that we can connect to their software. So we're making progress on it, but we're not there yet.
Great.
And the county's not ready yet to let us in, if you understand what I mean?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so anyway, back to the, sorry, I got kind of sidetracked there. So what I would like to propose in the future when we get it right is a two-tiered billing system for rates. The minimum will be something divided by 12, and whoever is living in the house on the first of the month will be responsible for that base fee. The base fee could be considered to be reserved for future infrastructure. And whenever, all that base fee money that we collect will just go right into the reserve. And then a usage fee for water usage will fund operations. And I'd like to do that both on the water side and on the sewer side. That way, we're gonna be able to build up our reserves to be able to replace all of the water mains and all of the sewer mains. And you're gonna see when we get to the sewer is well on its way. The water is not. Okay, so speaking of sewer, we will see that their adopted budget was 2.9 and it got adjusted up to the 3.1. And I listed the reasons why with the purchase orders, Tyler Technology. And then their revenues came in at 3.1 and their expenses came in at 2.5. So they, I showed you the billing history, the non-college customers went up 6.4% and the college went up 12.9%. And then also, as you know, in the sewer fund, we also have septic lines that come in. And I just showed you that that went up from 118 to 102. And then we also have the contract with the town on the providing services for their sewer services. And that, excuse me, went from 332 and 24 up to 444 for 25. And that was a 33% increase. But again, that is based on a lot of samples that the wastewater treatment plant takes, and it's on solids and bios and turning them into their category, and flow and things like that. And so it's a formula, and we average things, and again, this is a formula based. This one we decided not to do flat dollar amounts on it because of the capacity that's in the contract as far as how much room we have in the plan itself. So I also provided for you the sewer fund balance activity, and again, very similar between the unrestricted, restricted total, and non-spendable, and the available balance as of 12/31 is at 3.1. So the unrestricted fund balance realized a surplus of a little over $600,000. And this indicates that the rate increases are working. And that I also gave you the sewer rents and the college rents and the interest payments for the sewer fund. But going into 2026, the sewer fund balance, the total fund balance was 103% of our adopted budget. And the unrestricted was 83%. So this shows that we can now start taking some of that money and putting it into the reserves for future sewer main replacements. So I'm recommending that the council consider transferring $600,000 from the unrestricted fund to the restricted fund. Okay? And again, I would like to present to you in the future the same rate structure where the base fee is reserved for infrastructure and the usage fee is to fund operations. OPT. And as you know, OPT is most supported by state aid, and it has to do with the formula base between ridership and miles. And also 5311 operating aid to fund the deficits within the fund. And OPT had been awarded a CARES grant totaling a little over $1.1 million, and we received the final payment of that CARES grant in 2025, which was $499,000. We utilized about $225,000 to cover the deficit, and we have $273,000 reserved for 2026. And as a requirement for STOA, we have to submit all the eligible expenditures, all the eligible revenues, and then it comes out to a formula based on the data that is presented to them. But with the new transit hub building, the 2027 budget is going to be significantly different than what we're used to seeing. Because now we've got a building and we have the utilities that we need to take care of, and all of it. They built the building as efficiently as possible for green energy and insulation and things like that. But you're going to see a drastically different budget. We've also contacted OPT, DOT, we gave them a preliminary budget and said, look, we want to show you how these expenses are looking. In the fall of this year, we will be submitting an application based on the 27 budget. And then we will show them what we believe our anticipated deficit is going to be. They will then submit that to their powers, and they will award us what our 5311 operating aid will be. They will do the best they can to cover 100% of the deficit, but they may not be able to cover 100%, but they're going to try their best. And later we will be giving you statistics on ridership and routes and things like that.
So I just had a quick question about the state of the state. So there, just to go back to page 7, there was the amount slated in 2025 that was over $750,000, $777. And yet there's not clarity about the forthcoming budget in terms of the amount that
No, it was a one-year program.
Right. So I'm just curious, when are we gonna know? And so what is the state of the state's budget in that way?
We will not know what the state's going to give us in 27 until they pass their budget in May or June of 27. We will not know what their temporary will be.
And so that, I would assume that delay also applies to this DOT funding as
No,
well?
the DOT is different. It's a different pot of money.
Okay.
Okay, so the DOT will know. We will know much sooner than in May. Matter of fact, we may even know by the end of the year, depending, might not be until February, but it will depend on how fast they get through the applications.
Okay. And just to be clear, so about the DOT funding, that in the past they've been able to fund whatever sort of the difference has been, they've come through.
Yes.
And so we can kind of move forward with the assumption, would you recommend, that we will be receiving?
I would have great confidence that they will fund it to the best of their ability. Now, it's going to depend on how the numbers turn out, especially if we, change the bus driver salaries and things like that, and depending on what our health insurance costs are. Remember, retirement costs, I showed you the percentage increase there. And so, I don't want to say it's guaranteed, but I will say that they have promised us that they will do the best that they can. They have always come through for Oneonta. In my career here, I have never, ever seen a denial. And quite often, because we do so well with our OPT operations, quite often we're not even eligible for the 5311 operating aid. So they, And also, we've got 2 years' worth of operating aid that we have not used, that is still in the term of the contract that they've approved, which I think goes through 27 or 28. That's over 400,000. So we'll be able to incorporate that into the 27 budget. So I'm confident that, that we will do well.
I'll just say, just as an aside, when the opening of the transit hub took place in the spring, there were DOT reps, and they all spoke quite confidently of the future for Oneonta's public transit. So there seemed to be a sentiment, at least publicly, that funding, there was an excitement about public transit options in the city. So.
And so I don't know if the council is aware, but DOT is actually taking pictures of our transit hub, and they're sharing it nationwide or statewide. I think is it state or nationwide? I forget. But they're really promoting it.
So given the public support, right, and then this history, there's reasonable amount of confidence that OPT funding will be available.
I'm confident, but I do not want to say it's guaranteed.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Okay, I added a new schedule to this memo this year. On page 17, the summary of transfers to other funds and capital project funds, because we have so many capital project funds going on, and quite often motions are passed, and we just want to have an overview of what was approved and what activities were done. So what I did is I gave you a list of what was transferred from the unrestricted funds and also the restricted funds from the general water and sewer funds over to the capital project funds. And that details there. And then to relate that list, if you flip it over, on there is a list of 28 capital projects that we have been involved in for 24 and 25. So that kind of sums up to 25. So any questions, any information I did not give you?
So the narrative on the enterprise fund is primarily focused on aid and revenue sources. Will we get something that's a little bit more black and white, similar to what you've done for the other funds with regard to, like the balances?
You mean for OPT?
Yeah.
Okay, in the future meeting, I'm gonna give you like a detailed report on OPT.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah, I didn't have it ready for
That's okay, this is really helpful.
Okay, so then what I'd like to.
Question. On the council chamber improvements, the $150,000, what did we get for that?
We have not spent it yet. It's sitting in the capital project. I believe the approach is still being assessed as far as what is the best option to do.
Okay.
So I've got the 150,000 over in a capital project.
Okay, yeah, I was thinking, I didn't see the change really. Thank you.
It's for the bell.
So now.
They're expensive.
As I was now the 2026 highlights to date. A lot of it will be repetitive. I'll just be the same topics. I'll be talking about sales tax and tax collection and water collection and things like that. But this is the 25 summary. And just so you know, when we had our bond issuance in May, S&P wanted me to send them samples of the communications that I did to council. So I want you to know, as boring as this can be, or as dry, or as overwhelming because there's so much information, our investors take it very seriously. So we pass with flying colors as far as what is provided to the council as far as information. So I just wanted you to know that this really is important in many different ways. Okay, so now if you flip to your August 4th tab, this is going to really kick off the beginnings of our 27 budget discussion. This is very similar to last year, and it's basically the same format, and that is because this is the basis of information that we need to have in your possession when you make decisions about the upcoming budget. So page 1 is tax cap formula. Tax cap formula will be modified between now and November at the state level, just because when they look at the retirement rates and things like that, it may not change, but it may change depending on how much the retirement rates are going to go up. So right now, the tax cap is at 2.01%, which totals $118,687. And if anybody attended the budget year, I gave them projections for 27 salary and fringe benefit costs based on the current information we had at that time. And just be expected that it's going to go up over $1 million between salaries, and it's mainly salaries, but it's the health insurance costs and retirement costs. Right now, I've got an estimate. You know how I've always talked to you about, I don't like percentages, I like to talk dollars? Because if you have 15%, 15% on $10,000 is a lot different than 15% on $3 million. So that's why I don't like to talk percentage increases, I want to know dollar amounts. So when you apply, a 20% increase on the retirement rates, and then we take that increase and apply it to our salaries, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars for our budget. If you take a 15% health insurance increase on our current rates, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars on our budget. So that's why I like to talk dollars instead of percentages. I just want you to be prepared what that number is going to look like for 27. Again, we're going to modify those numbers because we're going to use more current data, and as we get insurance, right now, in talking with the consortium board, right now our anticipated increase is going to be about 14% on our health insurance. And but again, that may change between now and the renewal rates.
On those consortiums, are there limits on year-over-year rate increases?
It will be on our non-stop, it is, but do you know what the limit is? 30%.
I would like it to be less, but I thought it was,
Well, if you're putting requests in.
never mind.
And also, our consortium that we're in, the rates are going up lower than what the Tompkins County consortium is doing. I know a lot of people hear about Tompkins County because it's such a big consortium, but our rates are actually going up less than theirs. We're also trying to recruit new members into our consortium, that way we can have more members, you can spread the costs out a little more people. We're trying to make progress there. Okay, so I wanted to show you the tax cap formula. And then page 2 shows you our tax levy history, and it shows you the averages that we've done. It gives you basically a 26-year history here. And I'm not expecting you to absorb all of this tonight. As I say at all the meetings, there's a lot of information. The budget is very layered and very complex, but I think it's important for you to have this data so you can further study. So on page 3 and 4, what I did is I provided you the CPID for all cities, and then also on page 4 is for the Northeast. So you will see that the average increase for all cities ranges from 4.5% to maybe 3.1% since 2016. And then on page 4, it will show you that currently in 2026, in March it was 3.6, 4.4, 5.0, 4.3. So those are tough percentage increases, as I said, when you take those and apply it to lots of money, those are really large increases. Page 5, I give you tax cap options, so you will know if you're considering a different amount than the tax cap, what it will affect for a house raised of 100,000 versus the average, which is 132,000. And I show you, I go off from 100,000 all the way up to 2 million, just so you have that information. And then page 6.
Can I interject with a question?
Sure.
The cap is so much closer to the top of the list this year.
I'm sorry, say that
The
again.
cap is so much closer to the top of the list this year. Could you explain
Well,
why?
it's because it's at 2, that's because it's at 2%. And it's only $18,000 higher than 100,000.
Yeah, it's usually a little bit more than that, right? I mean, $118,000 seems really low in terms of the cap.
Well, if you go back, I gave you a history of the tax cap.
Oh, okay. I can look into that.
Yeah, that is on page 1. So you'll see the history going back to 2021.
Okay, thank you.
And remember, the tax cap is not mandatory. It's a suggestion, and it takes a vote to exceed it, as you all know. But it's the state's way of trying to give elected officials guidance. But it's just I want to say arbitrary when inflation is going up, 3, 4, 4.5%, and our tax cap is not allowed to go up that, there's just no way, right? So if our salaries and fringe benefits are gonna go up $1 million, how is 118,000 going to assist with that? All right, page 6. I've always showed this to you. This is the what if. So on page 6, it shows where we would be if we went to a tax cap every year since its inception. So if we had done that, we would be at 5.9 million, 5,972,000 for 2026, and we're almost there. We're at 5,906,000. But you will see that had we done that, we would have collected $3.6 million more than we have collected since 2011. That's what I mean by compounding year after year and what it does to your cash flow. And then also, you would see that had we done that, we would not have had to have the 5.7% or the 6.3% in the past 2 years. It would have been 2.4% and 3.4% to get where we are today, had we not left that money on the table. So I'm just giving you this for reference to understand that whatever decisions you make, how it will affect the decisions in the future.
Jenny,
Jenny?
but there's a flip side to that. We're talking about what's good for municipal government, but the taxpayers have to pay for it. So we would have been taking, was it 3.5 million?
3.6.
$3.6 million more.
No, I understand that, but
So,
also.
but I think that should be emphasized equally.
Oh, absolutely. But also, if they want the services not to change, we need to fund them. If they want 4 more firefighters, they need to fund them.
Or find efficiencies.
So, do you understand? Yes. So,
I just want to make sure I understand the chart. On the right side, you see the what if. That was looking at 20, just on the bottom, the 2012 number. It says 4.79. That was what the state had calculated as the amount, but the 2% was the amount that was taken. Is that, am I reading that correctly?
what was done on the left side
Yes.
is what was actually done.
That was enacted, and then that, on the right side was what
On the
was.
right side is what if we had gone all the way up to the tax.
Yeah, what the state had calculated for that
Yes.
particular year. Okay, thank you.
I think Cecilia had a question.
I didn't have a question, I had a statement, but it's okay, I can refrain for now.
Okay, then,
I have a question.
the next couple of pages are about sales tax. I'm giving you sales tax history.
Actually, before we move on to sales tax, can we continue to talk about the cap and the levy?
Sure.
So, am I reading this correctly that the levy and the what if are within $75,000 of each other?
Mhm.
Okay, so we got there.
Well, yeah, we're not quite there, but we're getting there.
Okay, it just wasn't as smooth as you would have liked it. Okay,
Yeah.
and then actually, can we go back to page 1? Because I always struggle with this spreadsheet.
Okay,
So can you just explain to me, maybe walk through one of the years that has already occurred? Like how from top to bottom, kind of how we get these
How we get
numbers?
there.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yep, so let's go back to 26, because 26 is done.
Okay.
So you start out with your prior year tax levy.
Okay.
Which is
I see, from the bottom.
$5,556,000, that was your prior year
From
levy.
the bottom of 2025. we
Then
do
the
that
state
first.
says for the tax base growth, you can add a 0.0004% to that. So that
Oh,
totals.
we're on 2026, it's
Oh, I'm
1.0085.
sorry.
That's okay.
Yep, let me cover that. It's 1.0085, which equals $47,000. So we're saying that you can have a tax growth up to the 5.6 million.
And they just come up with that number, right?
I'm
I'm sure it's based on something, but like they just
How
give
they
it
come
to
up
us.
with the number, I haven't studied their formula, but that's what they assign us.
Okay.
Then you have to take in consideration your pilots, because pilots are another tax source. So then you have to add in what your pilots were for the previous year, and that
Okay.
brings it up to 5.9.
That's
Then it's,
interesting.
then they say, okay, your growth is 2%, so you can take your 5.9 and bring it up to 6 million.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have to subtract out your pilots
For this year.
for
So
this
you
year.
always want your pilots this year to be higher than they were last
Yeah,
year.
So,
Got it.
so then we have to subtract out the 307,000.
Mm-hmm.
Then what they do, if the retirement rates go up a lot, they will give you, what they call an allowance to add on to your tax cap. And we will not know that probably until October, maybe early November. So that's what the 38,000 is.
So we're
That is
adding
what
that?
this- That's what the state is allowing us to collect, add to our tax levy to help pay for the economic system. So that's how they, determine what our tax cap amount is. But we went up to, 5.9, so we exceeded the tax cap by 157,000.
Got it, and so the 118,000 is the difference between subtotal number 2, 5.9 million,
Yes,
and the 2%, 6.018.
no, 6.025. So the 118,000 is the difference between 5,906,000 and the final total of 6,025,000. Are you looking at 27?
No, I'm looking at
Oh, sorry.
26. So if I look at subtotal line number 2, it's 5,900,087.
Yeah,
And then
no.
1.02 is 6 million. Oh, no.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. No, that's only,
No, you don't want to do that.
that's not what I'm doing.
No.
Okay, see, this is why I need it.
Yeah, so the 5.9
Uh-huh.
is subtracted from that 5.7. So we exceeded our tax cap by $157,018.
Okay, by the 157,000, where does the 118,000 come from? And the 2%?
That's
The
this year.
118,000, that's for 27.
If
So
you
we
go-
can,
Next year.
Well, I understand, but okay, maybe I'll just,
That's taking the
Yeah,
2.01,
sure,
she's applying the 2.01 to get the 118.
okay, so now let's take the 26 formula and now we're gonna move that to 27. Okay?
okay,
So the 5.906854, that
Uh-huh.
was our tax levy from last year.
our tax
Or
base
for
growth,
this year.
gross factor.
So that's your beginning number for 27,
Yep,
okay?
that's where we start.
So now the tax base growth is the 0.0004%, so we can add $2,363. Then our pilots for the previous year was 307.
Yep,
So now they're saying, okay, your subtotal of tax collection is 6.2 million. And then they say you can increase that by 2%.
okay.
That brings it up to 6.3.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have to subtract out the pilots that we're going to expect to collect in 27.
Yep.
They said, okay, now your net is, for your levy, is 6,025,000. And so our actual levy is 5.9. So the difference between the 5.9 and the 6,025,000 is the 118.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so we're taking actual levy, or final total minus actual levy.
Yep.
Got it.
So that's what they're saying our cap is compared to the current levy that we have.
Got it. So, okay, so it is much smaller this year, but it has to do with like the tax base growth factor. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you, everyone, for letting me do that.
Okay, so we'll jump back up to the sales tax information.
Sorry, where are we going? To sales tax?
The sales tax, yeah, I just want to tell you what page it is.
What?
You want to go to page 8.
Page 18. Said 18.
Well, really, page 7 is where the sales tax information starts. So what I did is I gave you a history of going back to 2017, and again, this is just for your read. And it shows you how much the sales tax we have collected from 17 up to May of 2026. This is important because the sales tax is our highest revenue source. I told the council before that your tax levy should always be higher than your sales tax. The county's in the same situation. Their sales tax revenue is higher than their levy. And Alan tries to convince the board the same thing, that your tax levy needs to be higher than your sales tax revenue. Okay, we're going to get to that in a minute, and I'm going to show you how.
Okay, cool.
Okay?
You knew I was asking.
All right. So page 8, what I did there is I just showed you January through May, because that's the current information that I have for 2026. And then on page 9, what I wanted to show you here was the what-ifs of how should we predict our sales tax revenue for 2027. So I added a new line to this schedule, and I showed you what we budgeted in those years, and I showed you what the difference was between the actual that we collected and the budget that we did. And you will see that we were very conservative, especially in recent years, on our sales tax revenue. Because sales tax is unpredictable. You are depending on people spending money to be able to get that sales tax revenue. We don't know what online sales will do. We don't what car sales will do and things like that. I've gotten an updated report that will be included in the 26 analysis to show you where our revenues are coming from. Now, the previous reports that I used to give you, it showed internet sales. They no longer do that. Now they take the internet sales and they break it out by category. So if you're buying clothing, or if you're buying, hardware, or if you're buying, construction supplies, that's now all broken out between those categories.
Okay.
Okay?
And so it's not internet and bricks and mortar, it's all clothing, all,
Yeah,
like, mostly
yeah,
internet,
it'll be
all
in,
internet.
it'll be whatever the respective category is.
Okay, but I'm sorry, I'm asking the mode as well, like internet versus bricks and mortar cars, or just,
No, it's just those categories, it doesn't say if it's in the store or if it's online.
okay, got it.
Okay. Okay, so when you study that page, now if you turn to page 10, we've given you two options to consider. So what I did on page 9 is I said, what if we take the May year-to-date sales tax number and we add in what we collected from April through December for 23, 24, and 25, and came up with averages. So you'll see option 1 is doing that, just that. I'm taking the 24, the 25, and the 26 estimate, and I do it in 3 different ways. I say 26 if the remainder of the year is the same as 23, or if the remainder of the year is the same as 24, or if the remainder of the year is the same as 25, and then I come up with an average, which is 6.4. Our 26 budget is 6.3. So do you want to increase the 27 budget by 100,000? Or do you want to consider option 2 and take just the average of what 26 would be if it was 23, 24, and 25, which then comes out to be 6.5. And then if we take our 2027 estimate and consider a 2% increase, that comes out to 6.6. So again, that would be a $300,000 increase in our budget, going from 6.3 to 6.6. So council's going to need to let us know which approach you would like to take on sales tax.
I think when you ask about approach, I always like to go with a lower number. I rather budget that way because I'd be pleasantly surprised if you get a higher number. But I think if you do lower, then you know what you're in for.
Ginny, I just note the city does not have the data to estimate increased sales tax revenues from Airbnb. Is that the occupancy tax?
No, that's just sales tax.
Just sales?
Just sales tax. The state incorporated the sales tax on
Oh, okay.
Airbnbs, but Alan is not able to get any data from the state to know how much money that is.
Oh,
So the increased sales tax that we're receiving in 26, I cannot tell you how much of that relates to the new sales tax on the Airbnb activity, because the state's just not providing.
Will it
So
provide?
that's a
I don't think so. Alan has tried and tried and tried to do it, and they're like, no, we're not giving you the data.
So that occupancy tax is completely
Occupancy
different.
tax is completely different, correct. So that we'll talk about in our 26, in our next meeting, but we can chat about it briefly here. As soon as the governor signs the law, I've asked Dave Merzick and Carrie and Greg to get a local law drafted so we can get it ready to hand to the council immediately to get that incorporated. I've asked for it to be at the 6%, so we're having the same percentage as the county. Of course, the council can decide on what percentage if they want. But on that 6% number, I am very confident from the information that Alan has shared with me is that it will probably be about $400,000 in occupancy tax. And that's from people visiting here. So that's not on our local residents. And that $400,000, if you flip to your tax levy page, $400,000 additional revenue is, sorry, let me get to that page. Don't mind me wait. That's equivalent to a 6.7% tax levy. So if we were able to get that occupancy tax, and collect 400,000 of it, that's equivalent to a 6.7 levy increase, which will do a lot for us, okay?
Is that the bill we just put up in front? But then we just do a bill, pass it to the council.
Yeah, but then the Senate and Assembly have passed it, not the governor. Yeah, as soon as she signs it, then we can act.
So we have to do another vote to get this to 6%?
Yeah, well, yes, so as soon as the governor signs it, we'll right away a local law that will allow us to do it.
Call her, tell her to sign it.
They're texting
Oh.
right now.
Hold on, let me step out for a second. I'm gonna get-
I've been actually going online and
Yeah,
watching Bill
come on.
Congress.
Yeah.
Like it's all down, there's like.
As much as this is gonna hurt to say, tell her we'll boycott the bills if she doesn't sign.
Well, what has to happen, it has to get delivered to her desk, and then she's got 10 days to sign it after it's delivered.
Son runner.
Has she indicated she was?
Not to me, but.
No, I mean, publicly. Is there support for this bill?
I cannot answer that question.
Oh,
So,
I thought we
I
were
don't know
good.
if you guys have any information on that.
All of the local property tax changes that were passed last year were signed up.
Or approved. Oh, it's even Okay, so the next page is, I'm giving you history on the general fund revenues. I'm giving you a 5-year history, and then I'm showing you what the 25 and 26 budget is. And I've done that also for the expenditures, and we'll get that in a minute. The reason I don't really want to discuss this tonight unless you have questions, I just want to have the information so we can start. And then if you go to page 13, I show the categories of the revenue budget. And this is what I wanted to point out to you about how our sales tax revenue percentage of our budget versus the tax side. And so I've given you a history from 2001 to 2026 in the categories. So you need to be on page 13. And it's a fold, right there, it's a fold. Okay, so you're going to see that the tax levy, that 5.9, is 26% of our total budget. Sales tax is almost 28%. Now let's go back down in history a little bit, and we're going to see when you get down to around 2015 and down there, our tax levy would be over 40% to almost 30% that supported the budget. We are now down to 26%. Sales tax is now at 28%, and it used to be, 22. It was 28 in 2009. But what's happening is that our sales tax is not, or our tax levy is not supporting the budget at the same percentage it used to.
I see that point. Are there any contextual things that may have influenced the emergence of sales tax over property tax between 2015 and 2026?
Yeah, well, under Dave Reimer's administration, he and Dave Martindale were able to have a intermunicipal agreement with the county for sales tax sharing. And that actually added $1 million the first year we did that to the budget. And then just from the sales tax increase, just from the growth, and we have it for Otsego County, not just for the city of Oneonta.
Right.
And how they did it is that they were going to preempt the sales tax in the city, and the county did not want to do that because it affects the county's budget. But by them sharing 12% with us, they then have to legally take 12% and share it with all the other municipalities in the county. And if we didn't have that agreement, they wouldn't have to share any of their sales tax. So this benefits all of the municipalities in the county.
But I'm thinking like between 2025 and 2015 and 2026, like a lot has changed, and I know that there have been things that have been included in sales tax that haven't been previously.
Yes.
So I'm just thinking that might be skewing some of the percentages.
Yeah.
Also, sorry, I think it also is worth mentioning that, we need to be also cognizant of the increases in other areas that are supporting our budget, which is sort of what we're trying to do. That's like a goal of the council, is to try to increase the proportion of revenues from other sources as well. So,
Yeah, and I'm gonna go across the chart here so you can see that. But one thing that did drastically change, this was back under Gary Herzig's administration. They implemented sales tax on internet sales, which we never had before.
I'm sorry?
They implemented sales tax on internet sales,
Right.
which we never had before.
Right.
And that really increased our, probably, I wanna say at least by 300,000 a year, on the sales tax collection for internet sales. That's where it started. But then right after that is when COVID hit.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I think we were on council when that happened.
Oh, yeah, we were on council.
Yeah, no, not council, or not COVID, I mean the sales tax thing. I feel like I remember that being like really good news, and then it was just like,
No, we-
actually great, because everybody was shopping online.
Yeah. Actually, I think it was just before we had that. I got, just, with her was doing the numbers, with the tax, like, if we didn't have 0% tax increases, where would the 26% be? Would it be up closer to 30?
oh, if we had,
If they didn't do like 0%, so they just did.
oh,
I feel
I
like
did
never
just
had that.
calculated that, Scott, but I can get that for you. Then,
I'm not
Do you want
really
to
saying
say?
no, I just need a degree.
do you want me to?
No, you can go.
Okay. So what this category of the chart shows is that ambulance provides 4.8%, fire contracts 6.5%, state aid almost 10%, and all other 9%. The appropriated fund balance is about 8%, and then the appropriated reserves, that's where the biggest increase happened between 25 and 26. It went from 3.6% up to 7.4%. The reason being is that's what we've set our reserves up for. So I'm pleased to see that that percentage went up because we are spending our reserves on the equipment that we need. So page 14 is basically the same setup, but it's expenditures instead of revenues. So I will show you the salaries at the 8.6, the fringe benefits at 5.3, the post-employment benefits at 1.2, the equipment, contractual, the debt service, and transfers to capital projects. And I also show you the makeup and the salary percentages, and I give you the history to show you that because we are a service industry, most of our expenses fall under service. It's our salaries and benefits.
What's contractual, is that like union contracts, or is
The
that?
contractual is any of the point forwards. So when you look at the budget itself, Scott, so if you were to go to,
Buying things, materials, supplies.
Okay, that's what I want, that's all I want, okay.
yeah, and I just wanted, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to find the page in the budget. So if you were to go to page 24 in the 26 budget,
Yeah,
anything that's listed with a point forward, that's what I want under contractual,
okay.
okay?
I just-
I really want Katie for this question. Can you give her just like 30 seconds for the next section?
The next page?
Yeah, the next page.
So basically I'll just ask questions while she answers. So basically our
But always say
salaries,
one more
benefits and all that's about 70 to 71% of the budget.
Yeah, it ranges from 67 to 72 depending on what else we have in the budget that year. So if we didn't have much equipment in our budget, you would see the percentage of salaries and fringe benefit going back. If we have a lot of equipment in the budget, you're gonna see that percentage going down.
Okay, I can't stall any longer.
Thank you. One more question.
Just one.
So Katie, what I did is we just talked about the other revenue categories on this chart.
Okay.
And what the percentages are, and you can see where the makeup is, and the transfers to capital projects, sorry, I remember the expenses. The appropriated reserves, that had the biggest change percentage-wise, but that is what we like to see because that's why we set our reserves up, is to invest those monies into our capital. So page 14 is, as I just said, is the expenditure categories, same as the revenues, and I broke it out between salaries, fringe benefits, post-employment benefits, equipment, contractual, debt service, and transfers to capital projects. And again, this is information for you to study, and then you can see where our categories are. So on page 15, this is our fund balance history. And this, I think, is one of the most important schedules that we have in the book. This shows you from 2000 to 2025 where our fund balance has gone. So you will see that we have grown 8.1 million since 2000, the year 2000. We've gone from 5.8 to 16.9. Oh, you know what? I gotta check that math and make sure that I changed my formula. And then, again, I showed the percentage of the unassigned, which is the makeup of the fund balance itself. Then here, I also show the adopted budget. And then I show how much of the unassigned fund balance will cover the adopted budget. Investors look at this, say a catastrophe happened, not that doesn't happen, right? But say a catastrophe happened, how much money do you have in your reserves to carry on your operations? And so this is telling the investors that almost 38% of the year we would still be able to fund our expenditures if we had to just live off our fund balance. And then the appropriated fund balance, I showed you the history there, because I don't want you to think it is something new, of what we're doing here. Then the balance, I show you the change between the restricted reserves and the other fund balances. And the total fund balance change. So you will see that in total, we only decreased $159,927. And that is after spending, over $1 million from our restricted reserves. Another question that I get asked about, do you want to study that for a minute? Do you want more questions? Do you want me to move on? Okay. A lot of questions I get asked is, what do we owe money for? And why did we have to borrow money? And what makes up our debt payments? So page 16 shows you all the outstanding debt that we have and the reasons why. And the year that it was issued and the maturity date that will be paid in full. And I included the 2026 issue for the Market Street projects in the schedule. Finish reading so long.
Can I ask a question about page 15? So the total fund balance change for 2025 is 159, but that will change, right? Theoretically, well, no, it wouldn't.
No, that was the final results.
Well, okay, because I was thinking the things that we're gonna put into restricted, but obviously everything is shown here, so it wouldn't change it. Okay, thank you, sorry.
That's okay.
I was thinking out loud, I guess. Okay, I will move on from this page. You guys are all a page ahead of me.
Just to clarify, the 159 there that Katie just asked about on page 15, can you tell us the meaning of that in terms of the low number? Is that an indication, I read that as an indication that the estimations were on target in terms of the actual outcomes?
Well, see that one schedule I don't have for you tonight is to show you what was budgeted versus where the actuals came in. So, we underestimated our sales tax revenues, by, was it 800,000, I think? If I go back.
In 2025?
In 2025.
It was
So
800,000.
we received additional revenues, because we're very conservative on our sales tax. That's why I provided the budgets from year to year. So if you guys want to go with 100,000 to 300,000 for 27, because you'll see historically how conservative we have been on our sales tax numbers. But what the $159,000 indicates very, if I can just sum it up very quickly, is that we had anticipated using 2.5 million of our fund balance. We only used 159,000.
Wait, that's the change. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Okay.
Yep. With the sales tax, I think it would be helpful for me in terms of projecting a number for next year that I would feel confident about. Because I know that typically we have taken a conservative approach. I would be interested to know, and I could go back to all my budgets, but you probably have it handy, what our budgeted versus actual are for all the years that you gave us, 2021 to 2026.
It's right there in front of you. So if you go to page, there, okay. If you go to page 9,
It's always the way. I know. It's amazing. All right, here we go. 9.
go to page 9, you'll see the totals where I got the double line. Then I added the budget for that year.
Oh, okay.
And then I showed you the difference between the budget and the actual.
Okay, I was focused in on page 10, but, or not page 10, I don't know, one of the foldy ones. All right. Thank you, great, perfect. So we have our total and our budget, beautiful.
Okay? Okay, so, can I move on a bit more on the debt discussion?
Totally.
Okay, so page 16, as I said, shows you all the reasons why we borrowed money and what the balance was as of the end of the year, with the exception of adding the May 14, 26 issue. Now, if you turn to page 17, I show you what all of our principal and interest payments will be up through 2052. Now, what we have not issued in debt yet they're authorized, but they're unissued. It's for the water and the wastewater treatment plant projects, which will be greatly reduced by the grant reductions that I've listed there. And those will just be incorporated into the rate structure. And the only one that's going to affect the general fund is the Quint fire truck. And then really good news is on page, oh, I'm sorry.
Do we have an update on the fire truck?
No, I haven't heard
There's no-
anything.
No, I think a tornado hit the plant in Wisconsin,
Oh,
so
no.
that's secondhand, but ours isn't being built, so.
Oh, no.
We signed the paperwork, I don't know.
So,
Can't
So, good news is on page 18. So this is for our installment purchase debt. This was done back in 2013, and that's when we installed water meters throughout the city. We installed water meters in all of the residents' houses, and we did some energy improvements to the different city buildings, putting a roof on at different places. The last payment on this will be in 2027. This will affect the water fund in the city. You will see that it's 172,000, that's a lot of money. Then on page 19, this is a summary that you will see in our audited financial statements, but I always like to share it with council before those statements come out. This is a summary of all of the fund balance categories in all of the different funds citywide.
What do we consider Greenway project?
Greenway is funds that were raised either through donations and a grant that was restricted for the Greenway development. That is, down by the wastewater treatment plant, that trail.
Oh, okay.
So
I
those,
should have known that.
those funds have not been released. Oh,
Oh, apparently, it's from 6 a.m.
yeah. you what is the project? Do you want to?
No, I appreciate you.
Can I answer your question? Can I, do you have a question?
Oh, no, I was just asking for clarification.
Okay. I have a question.
Do you?
I do. No, I don't know what the question is. What's the question? Can you say it?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Well, I'm curious now, but I don't know exactly what I'm asking.
What you looking at?
Well, actually, if you want-
The unappropriated total assigned fund balance. There's
Your head's gonna spin.
for water fund, library fund, miscellaneous,
What page are we on?
19.
Okay, I'm almost there.
Are you looking at the miscellaneous revenue balance?
The appropriated,
The appropriated assigned?
unappropriated,
Unappropriated in the
Total.
water, in the
library, and miscellaneous.
Okay, so what happens there, it's just how we are able to categorize the fund balances. The water fund, it's just like the general fund, but the water fund is considered assigned, not totally unrestricted, because those monies are being raised for a specific purpose.
Right.
So,
Right.
so it's an unassigned category as far as the state's consideration. And within that assigned category, they have an unrestricted fund balance because they haven't restricted like capital investments.
Right.
Mhm.
So it's like escrow, if you want to think about it as, you don't know what your tax bill is going to be necessarily, but you have an escrow account that has money in it that you can't spend for anything else.
Right, yeah, but think of it as.
But like your checking account would be your unassigned.
Think of it as you've assigned the money for a
No.
certain purpose. Like you're saying this $1 million is gonna go over here in this little corner, and it can only be used for, street cleaning. So that would be an assignment of a fund, and that's what happens in
The entire water fund
the
is like
water,
that,
the
right?
entire water fund is considered assigned.
Right.
The entire library fund is considered assigned, because that money is assigned for only library use. The sewer fund technically is 100% restricted by the state's definition.
Okay.
But we talk about restricted and unrestricted within the sewer fund, just so we can be consistent between how we're doing our reserves.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Then the miscellaneous special revenues, those are all restricted donations that we have received for certain purposes.
Like Aquabog?
Pardon me?
Like Aquabog?
Example balls for Wilcox, we also have, small things like Greenwell Park, certain, monuments, and, just different donations that have been given, and this is what we have used.
Okay.
Okay, page 21, this is a summary of our restricted reserves. So all of the restricted reserves that we have in the general water and sewer fund are listed here. I didn't give you the smaller ones that are in the special revenues. But I did do general water and sewer. I've given you 24, 25, and 26 history, and showed you what we have got committed versus what we actually, purchase orders for and actually spent the money for. So you will see the current estimated balance as of 6/30/26 for these funds.
I may have asked this in the budget committee, but what is our investment policy in terms of interest?
We go with by law, we are not able to invest in any high risk portfolios.
I've definitely asked this question before, because I think you always start with that.
Yeah, and so we have to be very conservative in what we invest in. So that has to be CDs, has to be interest-bearing accounts, but we're also able to invest our money into what's called New York Class. It's a municipal portfolio, which is able to provide us very good interest rates.
Okay. Thank you.
So we cannot in any way risk the taxpayers' money. Everything has to be collateralized, and because because everything has to be collateralized, that costs the people that are holding their money themselves. So that's why sometimes you'll see the municipal rate being lower than a private rate, because the private rate is not collateralized.
Thank you.
That's also one condition that I have to prove during the audit, is that all of our money is collateralized. I also have to prove it to the state. Okay, the last few graphs, or not graphs, but last few schedules, it's just showing you the sewer and water history, revenue and expenditures for the last 5 years, and then the 25 and 26 budgets. So these documents that I've given you will give you a good foundation. Any questions as you study these, just email me or write and we'll get answers to you. But this is a good starting point for the information that you need in future discussions to come. Now, what will be done next is that we'll be developing graphs. My graph person right now is not doing it, so.
You graph guys right here.
So what we're gonna do graphs, you'll see that I have them. So we'll be issuing you graphs and kind of our picture book part of our binder. And we will, graphs, Ellen does a good job with the graphs. And so we'll get very creative and try to give you probably a lot of the same information, but also some new information to try to show you the financial condition, which is very strong. And that's why we maintain our AA and good quality. And then next time I'll have the 26 information for you, and then we can talk about budget parameters. And then I wanted to decide tonight on when our next budget meeting is, so I can know what date to have the information ready for you by.
We have to pass the budget by?
We have to adopt the budget by the first meeting in December. We laid the tentative budget by the first meeting in November.
November 1st.
We give you the draft budget by October 15th. Did you say that was when the next
November
meeting was?
1st.
Okay, that'll be easy.
Okay, so for the next meeting then, one vote. Okay, so for the next meeting then, we talked last time about if we want to do these budget meetings attached to regular scheduled meeting or do on another date.
It
What are your
depends
thoughts?
depends how much is on that agenda for that meeting.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because
Sure.
it's really getting in, diving deep in these, sometimes last 2 hours on the road, 3 hours on the road.
Yeah. So that was the question, do you want to attach it, even if it's a short meeting, it's still a meeting and a meeting. Do you want to do it on another day? Or do you want it to, sort of like tonight, do the first, sort of the business part and then into this? Or do you want to schedule for another meeting? This, I think you put on here, you put August 26th. I'm not sure if you meant that or not.
Did I make a typo? No.
I don't know. It just says August 26th on here. That's a Wednesday. Yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would prefer to have a separate meeting, only because I find that when we attach these budget discussions to a council meeting, the length of the meetings are, I think they go into
Pretty long, right?
2-3 hours
Yeah.
at night. And so I would, if it's at all possible, I'm happy to do what we've been doing. I just think breaking them up can actually help all of our discussion.
Sure. Considering committee meeting days and council meeting days, looks like Wednesdays would be a good day because that would be attached to a committee or a council. How does that?
I can't be here.
Cannot? So Wednesdays are totally off
I
for you,
feel
or-
like right now, we're getting out of here before 8 o'clock. We've had a full council meeting and done budget work. I don't know why. It's not, why are we trying to fix it? It's not broken.
Because this was a short.
Right, but.
Yeah, relatively short agenda, yeah. So the budget part was, we started this, I think, around 6:30ish maybe?
Yeah.
So it was about, what was that, hour, we'll say an hour and a half, which was, it was the first shot, so it could be like you were saying, it should go longer, yeah.
We might consider the special meetings when we have to make decisions, because those are the ones that go longer. When we're reviewing things, they go quicker. That would be a compromise, I think.
So the next meeting could be attached, but we might need to think, but Wednesdays are not good for you.
We have the budget process lasts like roughly 4 months, something like that?
Yeah, I am gonna coach my son's small rec soccer, so like really soon, Wednesdays aren't gonna be good for me either.
Okay, so Wednesdays are out for you. Mondays? Looks at the faces like, oh my god.
Well, I agree, I mean, so I was gonna say, I think at our last meeting, we had talked about a combination depending on what the topic was.
Yeah,
and
we did,
maybe-
yeah.
Maybe that might be hard to like gauge, but I think that's a pretty clear delineation if there's like action needed from council, or we know that there's gonna be a long presentation or something like that, then maybe those would be separate. Like maybe we do the water and sewer in a separate meeting, you know, because we know that that's gonna take a while.
Okay, so what,
But I think it should be a combination, because I agree it's harder for me to get here more days, but this was, you know, 2.5 hour
this was,
meeting.
we could start earlier, I'm not sure how that would.
Can't really do that either,
Okay.
sorry.
We're just throwing out some ideas,
Okay.
we'll get
No,
through it.
yeah, right.
Okay, so at a 5:30 start time, not going too late, like if it's 2.5 hours,
If you guys
so.
want to have a Wednesday meeting, I just can't make it.
I would just really like for you to be there.
There also might not be, well, it depends if we can,
You may
there might not be a
we
forum,
don't know
because I
when
won't be
that-
here.
Okay, so just for the next meeting then, the next meeting,
Next meeting, what I plan to present you is the 26 highlights, 26 projections at the end of the year.
mhm,
And we updated, you know, how we budgeted a deficit for 25, but ended up with a very small deficit, but also with unrestricted surplus. So I want to present that information
So
to
it
you.
sounds like comparable to this,
Yeah.
it
right?
sounds also preliminary, we're not getting into it too far.
And thank you for pointing that out. I'm sorry I had the wrong header on the table of contents. I had
No worries.
August 26th there instead of August 4th. I'm allowed to print it on the website,
I don't have it.
okay?
You're
Okay.
good.
This was
So-
hot off the press.
No, you're good.
The next meeting is August 18th.
Okay, August 18th.
Right, so we're looking around here.
Am
If that is the plan for your participation, and how is it around here, attaching it to the August 18th meeting?
These are preliminary, these are not, I mean, these are like the beginnings of our discussions.
Yeah. this is
They're
the-
not representative
This
of our
is the
budget
salad bar,
discussions,
yeah.
really. So it's no problem, you know, on the 18th to have an additional, you know, preliminary budget discussion. I just think moving forward, it may behoove us to have, given the length of them, when we really get into the details, to have an additional meeting or two.
Maybe I could remind you on the way, between now and the next budget meeting, we can look on the calendars in September, October. Maybe there's a date that we can work out that would have, we could set aside that time.
like
Maybe
a day each week?
No, just like pick the days. So maybe there's a Wednesday that does work for you, or not at all, okay? Or we do it on a Thursday. I'm just look at days and see what we can schedule, we might have to spend some more time.
Well,
That,
since,
that could be recommended, yeah.
sorry, well, I'm not gonna be able to do Thursdays, well, every once in a while will be fine. But like,
Alright.
since we're doing this Tuesday, Thursday committee structure, we might also be able to do like council Tuesday, budget Thursday.
Oh, yeah, right,
Listen,
right. She said it.
I'm not, I'm just saying, in
That-
terms of like normalizing schedules, that might be
Yeah, so think about,
consistent anyway.
that could work. So we could do a Thursday meeting for budget on the weeks we have regular council meetings. So think about it.
Only if it
But-
was needed.
For the right now, August 18th, we'll plan for the next portion of your presentation after we conclude the regular business of the other parts of the agenda.
Also, you know, this was hot off the press just before council. I haven't really had a time to really sit and read it everywhere, so if you find a typo or something, just let me know.
We forgive you
Yeah.
Thank
in
you.
advance.
Don't have to worry that.
And I will.
I know. I wouldn't either, if it was something we were gonna like
I
post, I would say.
Anymore,
something.
I'll ring the bell. Okay, no executive session, we're adjourned. It is 7:56.